So Nikki, one of the biggest questions that we get is what happens when money starts to run out. If somebody is living in our care home and they don't have an infinite amount of funds to support this care, what should they do?
Okay, we'd share that concern. That's actually something families are always asking us. If, I choose this home, what happens if the money runs out? And actually, it is a bit of a vague answer, because it really is down to the local authority and the care home in that scenario to come to some sort of agreement. So the advice generally is, if the money looks like it's dwindling, then you approach your local authority, you ask for an assessment, and they will pick up the tab, for want of a better expression. You'll still have to contribute your pension and so on towards it. The problem is that the local authority sometimes doesn't pay the rate that the care home was previously charging. So I would generally advise families to sort of leave the local authority and the care home to work that out. But absolutely it is a concern. But maybe talking to advisors such as ourselves, we can do some cash flow modelling and work out how long that money will actually last. It might last a little bit longer than perhaps people think, but yeah, it is a concern for families.
At what point should a family discuss with the local authority that their funds may be running low? Is there a certain point, or is it a general conversation you need to have in advance?
You definitely can't have it in advance, because the local authority won't speak to you until you're approaching the threshold. So it's a bit of a catch-22. You want to know what will happen, but they won't tell you what will happen until it's happening. But normally 2 to 3 months before the money hits the local authority threshold, that would probably be enough time for them to come and do their assessments and do their calculations. So yeah, you can't put it on the radar too soon, but you certainly want to do it before you hit that threshold.
Okay, and just while we are having this conversation, is there anything families can do to stop this happening in the first place?
There is. I don't want it to sound like it's a panacea and it works for everybody, because it absolutely doesn't. But in the scenarios where it does work, it takes away absolutely all of that worry. So there is actually a financial product, something called a care fees annuity, and
Okay.
that's something that can be purchased at the time someone moves into care. And it will plug that gap, if you like, between the person's income and what the care home fees are. So it will plug that shortfall, and it will plug that shortfall for however long the person is in care. So it all depends on how old the person is, how poorly that person is. These are individually priced, but once they're purchased, they're paying out an income for life, and any money that's left over in the estate, that's then ring fenced and protected, if you like, for beneficiaries. So it can be a good solution, but it all depends on those variables as to whether it's affordable.
Great, and we will be sharing details of this on our website as well with this section of the information session. Can a care annuity be bought before somebody moves into care, and would you recommend this?
So I would recommend it if you could, but you can't. So you used to be able to. There used to be what were called pre-funded long-term care insurances, and anyone who has one, they'll still be honoured. That's not a problem, but you can't buy them anymore. So the only option is to look at it at the point that care is needed. Now, we do know that some families would love to know what one might cost before they move into care, because that helps with the planning. We actually do have a lot of data on what these sorts of plans cost. So if we know somebody's age and how much money they need, and a very rough idea of their state of health, we can give them a really good indication. So whilst you can't buy them in advance, we would be able to give somebody an estimate of what one's likely to cost, and then they can perhaps make their plans around that. But unfortunately, no, they can't be purchased in advance any longer.
I think that what you've pointed out from our point of view is to make sure that you do talk about this before it gets to the point that you have a couple of months of funding left and it's a stressful, difficult situation. But I think that rightly how to avoid that situation occurring in the first place, which is you can look at your care plan annuity, you can look at different options, that it just doesn't have to be throw everything into it, sell your house, use your savings, that there is something that can give you that support.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they can, I think for me, a really important point that we come across this time and time again is that families don't know what they don't know. So if you were buying a house, you know there's a thing called a mortgage. If you want to retire, you know there's something called a pension. But when somebody is going into care, no one has the first idea that there is specific advice that can help, that there are people experienced in working out affordability that can put forward the idea of an insurance to cover the care costs. There's so much valuable information and advice, but people don't go looking for it, like I say, because they don't know it's there to go and look for.